bio fans! Anya here from the Biography Wrap, and today we are going to explore the life of Mark Zuckerberg through the movie The Social Network, directed by David Fincher. So grab onto your seats and watch out for spoilers. The story begins in 2003 when Mark Zuckerberg discusses potential final clubs with his girlfriend, Erica. The two of them debate about the various clubs at Harvard and their exclusivity. He talks rudely to her, which angers Erica. She breaks up with him? Mark scurries back to his dorm and writes some scathing insults about Erica in an online journal. To take his mind off his breakup, Mark hacks various clubs' websites to collect pictures of girls. He asks his best friend Eduardo to use his algorithm, and he codes it to rank girls. Their website generates a lot of traffic and crashes the Harvard network. The movie switches to a meeting where Mark gets questioned about the incident by Eduardo's lawyer. Mark's seniors at Harvard, Cameron and Tyler Winkelslav and Divya Narendra, got impressed by his work on FaceSmash.com. They invite him to work on Harvard Connection. He asks, how is it different from MySpace? So they explain that it's exclusively of the harvard.edu males. The lawyers ask him about the commencement of Facebook. Mark recalls his interaction with Eduardo about developing Facebook and splitting it 70-30 at a party. He tells him that he needs $1,000 for servers and that they could be co-founders. Eduardo would also handle the business end and be the CFO. Eduardo tells him that he got invited to a party by the Phoenix Club. The lawyers explain that while Mark was working on Facebook, he led Cameron, Tyler, and Divya to believe that he was working on Harvard Connections. In January of 2004, Mark registered the domain name for Facebook. Mark adds the features for relationship status, interested in, and others, and mails the site to the Phoenix Club in February 2004. Divya finds out about the site and tells Cameron and Tyler. They discuss options to tackle the situation. Their lawyers ask Mark why didn't he ask for money from Cameron and Tyler to set up Facebook. Mark says he asked his best friend Eduardo because that's what friends do. The lawyer remarks that his friend is suing him for $600 million. Eduardo explains that the site exploded after its initial launch. Within weeks, they had 4,000 members. Cameron and Tyler send a cease and desist letter to Mark on their counselor's guidance. The expression "Facebook me" spreads like wildfire at the campus. Eduardo gets anxious about the letter when he finds it in Mark's dorm. Mark and Eduardo get asked out by some girls. They share a hot session in adjacent cubicles in a washroom. Mark spots Erica and tries to talk to her, but she stays cold and shows him no interest. Mark tells Eduardo that they will expand to Yale, Columbia, and Stanford University. He recruits Dustin, another programmer, and Chris as a publicist. A second-year associate, Marlon Delpy, talks to Mark. She thinks he hates the Winkelslavs twins, but Mark says they sued him because life didn't work out for them for the first time in their lives. Divya tells Cameron and Tyler about the expansion and wants to hire a lawyer. Divya tells them that he violates federal law and Harvard law. Tyler takes out the Harvard student handbook and explains that it's against the rules to steal. Tyler says he pays tuition, has a great GPA, and will row in the Olympics. Therefore, he will get a meeting with the president of Harvard. Sean Parker wakes up in Amy's room, who goes to Stanford. He tells her that he founded Napster, the popular music streaming website. He boots her laptop to check his emails and finds a Facebook page opened. He asks Amy about it and she explains it to him. He seeks out to meet Mark Zuckerberg. The Winkelslavs brother meet with the president but are unable to get him to intervene. He suggests that they start another project without expecting special treatment because of their fathers. Eduardo suggests that they should monetize the website. They visit a variety of advertisers, but Mark's eccentric behavior made the clients uncomfortable. When the lawyers ask about their last meeting in New York, he tells them it was set up through his girlfriend, Alice. Eduardo gets skeptical as they were meeting Sean Park. He tells them that he dropped out of 2 major internet companies, has a reputation with drugs, and tends to be a wild card. Despite being late, Sean captivates everyone with his talk. He explains about Napster and another company called Case. Eduardo feels off but restrains himself. He asks him if they should advertise, as Mark says it's too soon. He tells them that Facebook is too cool and it's got a valuation of $1 billion. He also suggests that they drop the from the Facebook. Just Facebook is cleaner. The lawyers ask him if he had ever committed anything that would lead to termination. Eduardo gets exasperated when he recalls the cannibalism incident with his pet chicken. What had happened was that Eduardo had to carry a chicken at all times as a tradition. But when the chicken got hungry at dinner, he fed small pieces to his pet chicken. The story got leaked to the school paper, and he had to fend off various animal rights groups and the ad board. Mark tells Eduardo that he will be interviewing some interns for programming and spending the summers in California. Eduardo gets a bit frustrated as that was Sean's idea, but agrees to it. Eduardo opens up a bank account and deposits $18,000 in it. He visits the CS lab where Mark tests new interns by getting them to hack through a Python web server. The catch is they have to take shots after every 10th line of code, after 3 minutes, after each pop-up window, etc. Eduardo is impressed and hands over the account to Mark for his summer in California. Mark hires 2 recruits and welcomes them to Facebook. At his house in California, one of the recruits breaks the chimney while ziplining over their indoor pool. Sean takes him out to a club and asks him about his strategy for the summer. Mark says he wants to get into 100 schools by the end. Sean asks about Eduardo, but he has an internship in New York. Sean tells Mark not to get seduced by advertisements, and as a gesture of good faith, he will put Facebook on another continent. The Harvard team loses the Henley rowing race at the Thames to Hollandia University. The Winklevoss twins conjure up a sour mood, but it turns bitter when the host informs them that his daughter saw the race on Facebook. Divya, Tyler, and Cameron are shocked that Facebook is now in Cambridge, Oxford, and the London School of Economics. The 3 of them decide to use their resources and sue Mark. Meanwhile, Eduardo shows up at Mark's house. He finds out that Sean has started to schedule meetings with investors, hedge funds, etc., and run the business. He gets furious and talks to Mark. Mark asks him about Christy, his girlfriend, who is psychotic, jealous, and terrifying, according to Eduardo. Mark tells him to move out here to California where he is needed, or else he will get left behind. Eduardo feels gutted and freezes the bank account he had opened. Mark and Sean meet with some investors. They offer him a $500,000 investment. They would start with corporate restructuring and register in Delaware to open Facebook for more investors. Eduardo signed some paperwork for his original 35% deal presented by Facebook lawyers. Eduardo wakes up in his apartment and Christy walks in angrily. Mark calls him and berates him about freezing the account. He calms down and informs him of Peter Thiel's $500,000 investment. Eduardo gets invited to the millionth subscriber party, but finds that his share has been liquefied to 0.03%. He gets infuriated and breaks Mark's laptop. Sean calls for security and mocks Eduardo. Enraged, Eduardo asks him if he did this because he got accepted into the Phoenix Club. Mark scoffs and tells him he didn't plant any story. Eduardo says that he must hate that he was also identified as a co-founder and tells him to lawyer up. Sean hands him a check for $19,000, but Eduardo throws up his fist. Sean flinches, to which Eduardo says that it makes him look tough when he stands next to Sean. He walks out. They hit 1 million members, and Sean tells him about a party he will be throwing and that he is interested in some interns at the office. Sean throws the party with interns and gets drugs for the party. He starts talking about a picture-related app that would digitize their real lives. He starts doing cocaine with people when the cops show up. They get inside and find Sean's hands laced with white coke. Sean calls up Mark and informs him of the situation. Mark feels terrible as this will become news. Sean whines and says that he will handle it, but Mark tells him that he will get it under control. He tells Sean to go home. The scene shifts to the law office where Mark is sitting alone. Marilyn tells him that they are done for the day. Mark asks her what would happen next. She explains that her seniors are devising up a settlement to present to others. Mark gets agitated and says that he invented Facebook. Marilyn tells him that he is right, but his behavior and likability will present differently to a jury. She says that she can make any jury believe that Mark is eccentric and hot-tempered with impulsive behaviors. Mark understands that and sends a friend request on Facebook to Erica. The screen shows that the Winklevoss twins received $65 million as a settlement. Eduardo Saverin received an unknown amount of settlement, and his name was restored as co-founder. Facebook is now valued at $25 billion, and Mark Zuckerberg is the youngest billionaire globally. That's it from the movie The Social Network. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. Let me know what you think of this truly inspirational story, and make sure to check out this next one.